Yeah, for sure.
So go ahead.
All right, we'll see if Tim shows up. The other Tim, we talked about like what we could call this pontificators. The old black men pontificating. It seems like it's been rejected, but you liked it.
I like it. I like pontificating, and I don't mind calling myself an old black man. To me, that means some wisdom and some life has gone into the mix. Yeah. So being able to share that and just reflect on it, it's a great opportunity. Capture it. So many people don't get to hear from old black men. Mm-hmm. So often we're retreating. Here's a chance for us to lean in and say, here's what I really think. Yeah. So, I don't mind that.
We've got some something to say.
Indeed.
So tell me, you were talking about the startups, folks that you talked about. And what's interesting about being here at the Ion, which we're talking about Black folks, which is sort of cool about the energy that's happening here, because there's like a lot of Black folks that are here, and people sort of talk about like the side hustle, right? But what's cool about here at the Ion is you just see like a lot of folks out here, like they trying to start their business. They got ideas.
Agreed.
Right? Like,
they don't have a side hustle mentality. They have more of an intentionality to it. Yeah. It's like, I don't mind being upfront and saying, this is what I'm doing now. Yeah. But one brother said to me, this is what I'm doing now, but I also have a regular 9 to 5. And I also have a wife and kids. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to manage it. And I'm like, interesting. You put your whole platter of life out in front of me, but you also said you were intentionally trying to do a startup. So I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. But you weren't saying you were scuttling everything else. Everything else isn't leaving the platter. You're trying to manage it all. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important, because if he's really trying to say, these are all important things to me, I value what I'm doing with my family, the business, the vision, the interactions and all that, I think that's a really good thing to do, because too often, from the point of view of us old black men, too often people say that we're not in the mix. And that brother straight off the bat was telling me that's foremost. My family's here. My kids are here. I also want to do this. And it's not a side hustle. I want to be intentional and make it work. Can you advise, or can you give me part of my support circle? How do we make this work? And I gave him some feedback on it.
Yeah.
So.
But what's interesting though, right, is like, I think from back in the day, whether you called it a side hustle or whatever, you were out there, you started your shop. Yeah. You were maybe, even you had dudes out there on bikes selling ice cream off the bike or whatever it is. Like folks are used to out there being, trying to find a way to turn a buck.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Turn a buck, make ends meet, make sure that when you squeeze a penny, it still can scream, all of that.
Yeah, all of that. But that was back in the day. It seems like now, like folks now are getting it, they got education. Folks are, and it was like, how can I, instead of just out there on the street hustling, how can I use my brain to start to, and so folks got some ideas.
Yes, right? They do.
They out there, and people got some great ideas. Like I was talking to this one dude who was like, I am engineering a solution for vertical lift out of airports. Right.
Interesting.
And he's got like a solution that's designed like amazing. And
there's a real use case for this.
I didn't go into depth in a conversation, but just the fact that like we're not talking about selling ice cream on the side.
We are not. We're talking about integrating.
We're talking about like high level
scale,
like engineers, like folks that are really like out there building some real stuff, right?
Yes.
But like just before it, you were talking about now how do you take this idea and commercialize it?
Yep.
And like there was in a lot of the conversations I have with folks in this building, there's a lot of folks that have like some great ideas, right? But then how do you commercialize that?
Indeed.
And that I think where in our community, like we don't have access to those channels.
I'd say that a lot of us don't take advantage of the channels that could be there. I know with your expertise, if people leveraged your expertise in a different way, they could come and ask, how might I do this? Or tell me more about that industry.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Because like you said, you have engineers out here. You have people with more degrees and advanced degrees. Mm-hmm. But if they were somehow able to integrate what they know into an industry or to a segment of the industry that they are not necessarily already in, they could do what they are primarily doing. They could get into a side industry, and they could do things at a larger level instead of just doing a bicycle hustle. And they could really do something full scale that may even pull in more than their normal 9 to 5.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah.
But what I see, and I know in my family, a lot of times what we're talking about is I need a product. Okay. I need a solution. Okay. Right. And which you do. Right. Yeah. But lots of people have products. Lots of people have solutions. Yeah. Like, what does it take? Yeah. What's it take to get to that next level? Like, how do you take your idea, your solution? Like, what's the difference between two people that both have comparable products and solutions? Okay. Like, there's a classic example of Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. Okay. Right. Both of them were out there inventing electricity. Okay. Right. Yeah. One of them was doing AC. The other one was doing DC. Right. Right. One of them took. The other one didn't. Right. Right. What was that difference? Right. Like what was it that took one? And you had mentioned it earlier. It's like the like what is it in that individual? Right. How did they take it across? How did they make those connections?
How did they share the vision? How did they articulate it to make the other audience understand what they were doing and where it connects with them, right? There's also the piece of, because you mentioned Edison versus Tesla, and I think of other inventors who even products that were out there in the marketplace. And if it doesn't really speak to how well it's marketed, how well I, as a producer or a small business owner, speak to it, make you feel like you need it, it falls by the wayside. So the question that I hear you asking is, how can I, as a small business owner or as a coach, say it better? That way another person sees it, wants it, leans into it, and then I surround myself with the people to make sure I can deliver it consistently. And that way I can become that Edison in the future, and everyone associates me with that service, that product. But oftentimes, we're thinking too small scale, or we're thinking a one-shot deal, or we're thinking, here's how this can work, but not how this ecosystem can generate this and make it continuously run. How can we keep it running? How can we keep it, what's the word we always like to call it? Sustainable. Mm-hmm. Because the sustainability of that is going to be what speaks to it in volumes. What you're calling that.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody, and they were, and I was watching them as they were introducing themselves to people. Okay. Right. And they were introducing themselves that they had achieved, that they had gotten an engineering degree, and now they've sort of moved on. In their career they did little to no engineering.
Were they dismissing their engineering degree?
No, they were introducing themselves as an engineer. But now they're into executive level jobs.
Got it. And they're not doing engineering.
They're not doing engineering. Got it. They're doing executive level jobs, but they're introducing themselves as engineers, right? Okay. And so then I would watch the conversation that happened after that. Mm-hmm. And then there was somebody else and they were like, oh, here's this person, they're an engineer. And they didn't hear the rest of it. Okay. Right? And there was like, no, engineering was just the beginning. Okay. Right? And that was where I sort of had this epiphany that I think this is the lie that people have told us over that if you work hard, you go get your engineering degree, you go get your law degree, you go get your doctorate degree, then you've made it. Right?
Man, we both know that's not true. It's not true because you haven't made it. It's also who you see when you look in the mirror and how you speak to that. If I'm not assertive enough to say I began as an engineer and I've now evolved into an executive, like you said, and then talk about some of the executive level thinking that I now do, that leans into my old engineering stuff, but also leans forward into things I've learned along the way, then we've shortchanged ourselves. And some of that is a learned behavior.
Yeah. And that's people box us in, and that's how they see us.
Yes.
That's how they see us. And then you can't move beyond that.
You've given your own glass ceiling. You plateaued.
You made your own glass ceiling.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
By introducing yourself that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So if your aspiration is to be a founder, a visionary, don't introduce yourself as an engineer.
Thank you.
Right?
Exactly.
Introduce yourself as the founder and the visionary.
Yeah. In a transparent way.
Yeah.
Even say, I'm trying this. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm working toward. But talk to it that way. And if in your bag of tools, the fact that you have been an engineer and have done things and been productive, that's an additional asset.
Yeah.
But instead of saying that, like you said, too often times you come forward and say, I'm an engineer, I'm a box, and I can't even talk about the tentacles that are all coming out of me, both in things that I'm learning, things that I'm contributing, or things that I want to learn, but instead it's just that box. That's a static box way back when, and it doesn't even talk to what happened since that time.
Yeah.
That's horrific.
It gets you to a point.
Yeah.
Right. All your certifications, all your training gets you up to a certain point.
Yep.
And then you can never get beyond that point.
Yeah.
Then you've hit that ceiling.
You have.
Right.
You have. Whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
You cut it off yourself.
Yeah.
There was a guy that introduced himself to me, and I said, so what are you doing these days? He says, well, I'm working on my certificate for this and my certificate for this and my certificate for this. I'm like, great. Now, tell me what you're doing, but don't tell me about your certificates. He says, I've never had anyone ask me that before. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, well, typically I'm telling them I'm working toward these certifications. I'm like, yeah, toward what? And for what's the bridge? And he didn't have a response. I said, I'll tell you what, let me catch you next Friday right here. And hopefully you can tell me more about you in that term instead of what certifications you're working on, because that's just milepost along the highway. Where's the highway going, brother? Mm-hmm. And he couldn't tell me where the highway was going. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa, you're working on these certs that somebody else probably told you, that's a valuable cert. Let me go get my AWS and all that. Okay, what you going to do with it?
What you going to do with it? Yeah. And in having that cert, what did you learn?
Thank you. Right. Thank you. Applications, use cases, all of that.
There was years ago, I remember this was like a key moment. Back in high school, there was these two girls that I was going to school with, and they were like the smartest girls in the school, right?
Okay.
They were super smart.
Yeah.
And I was, middle of the road, maybe slightly above average student, and but not, they were like they had all the loudies, and right, they were top of their class.
Yeah,
right?
cum laude, summa.
Yeah, all the loudies. Yeah. They were all the loudies, and then and
magna summa.
Yes,
yeah.
and we were having this conversation about learning, and come on in, Tim.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Careful. I'm sorry.
That shake did not disturb my water.
I love it. Yeah. Now, we were just talking about...
Sorry. Let me turn this so you're not on the... You
want to put me on the BIOS?
On the edge.
Cool. Edgy character.
So we were saying... We were sitting around having this conversation with these two smart gals in high school. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, I was... like, what have you learned? And I was like, we took a textbook and we sat it down on the table. I said, let's just flip this textbook open to some random page, and tell me something about it, right? And we opened it to that page, and they couldn't say anything specific about it. And I told them exactly what was the content on that page. I was like, you guys understood the test material.
There it is.
I comprehended the material and understand it.
World of difference, right? Man. I used to always ask my kids even, did you get a grade? Did you earn a grade? Or did the teacher award you with a grade? Because when you walked out of that class, did you really understand the topic that class was intended to teach you? And what you just described to me is someone who went in, made sure they studied to pass that test, but never walked out of there understanding the whole comprehensive piece that course should have taught them.
Yeah.
And man, what a tragedy when that happens. But there are people that are summa and magna cum laudes like that.
Yes.
And they will crash and burn because they don't have the context of applying all the stuff they should have known, how to put it to work, the use cases, all of that.
Yeah. And to this day, both of them, like I've achieved more in my career than both of them. And both of them graduated top of their class.
See.
Right. Like I hadn't actually thought about that until this moment in time.
That's a great example, man. That's a great example.
Right. It's like
I know people like that.
Learning to understand and comprehend, and how do you apply that?
How do you apply it?
Right.
Yeah,
it's did you say a minute ago the term jack of all trades?
Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Master of none.
Yeah.
And even if a jack of all trades at least knows how to play the jack of all trades, you know, hey, at least be able to have a conversation in it, know the context of the trade. Because if you're a jack of all trades, you could at least get in there and fake the funk. But if you're just in the room and you said, back in the day, I understood that trade, and it looks familiar to me. But like you said, you open up the book and they couldn't even speak to it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're a jack of all trades. They might just be
There's no CEO of any company that introduces themselves as, well, I'm the engineer.
Thank you. Boom, crash, drop the mic. That's it. Let's
continue that. You just struck a nerve.
Hey, why is that?
When you hit a vein, you got to stay there.
All right. All right. Let's talk to that.
I don't know what you guys were talking about before I came in.
No, you're good.
But the term jack of all trades.
Okay.
Which the continuation is, but the master of none.
Okay.
Continuation is, but oftentimes better than the master of one.
This
is things. So when you talk about that, love the topic.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have semantics, sayings, things that we take for granted in life. Just like the textbook thing, it's like all knowledge is given there as a start point. But if you stop it short and don't get the extension of it or the root of it, we can sometimes miss the implication or the usefulness of the information, right? So Bryce's point is like, I'm able to function way better and more high functioning than people that were just material oriented.
Right.
Almost you have to be substantively oriented. So it's like that saying, when you hit that, it's like, that's what immediately triggered for me a vein, is that many times we'll stop and we won't go beyond, the heard thing or the explicit thing on the surface down to the deeper root and the implication. So that thing, jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of none, which is in the phrase you just said. No one's going to introduce themselves as a leader of a company, a major multi-tiered organization, as I'm just a this.
Yes.
Right. So while the connotation of jack of all trades overwhelmingly in our lives is oftentimes put negatively.
Yes.
But if you extend out the saying, it's actually saying you don't want to be a specialist unless a specialist is what you need to be. Oftentimes, most of us in this life can't afford to just be a specialist. And it comes from, if you think about a homesteader.
Yeah.
That's really where this comes from. You don't have a veterinarian, a blacksmith, a plumber, an electrician, a lumberman. You are all of those things, but you specialize in none of them. But you're incredibly proficient in them all.
If you try to run a farm,
you
can't be a specialist.
You better not.
But that's a life implication. If you want to run your life, you better figure out a few different things and how to be proficient in it.
Yes.
Because winter's coming, right? Or dark times are coming.
That's it.
The person who you think you can call is not going to be on call, because they too will be tending to their own, or they too will be blocked from accessing you. So that jack of all trades statement, man, that's one that you said when I said you struck a nerve, you struck a vein.
Hey.
That is, I think, the life implication. Even when you were talking about the study, it's like some people are so focused on, I'm going to dig deep into this. It's like you really need to come up out of that and come off of the page and into the application. That's life.
Hey.
That's life. All learning it's just a start point. It's just foundational. You have to extend that.
Well, what I hear you saying, something I talked about a couple of minutes ago was, I introduced myself to a gentleman. Actually, he approached me. He introduced himself to me at the startup circle this morning here at the ION.
Yeah.
And he says to me, how you doing? I said, hey, what are you doing? And he said, I am working on my certification in AWS and my certification in this, that, and the other, and my certification in this. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he says, what do you mean and? And I said, I'd like to know what is that you are doing subtract the certifications. Yeah. What's the road you're working on? Because I told him, you're telling me mileposts along the way, but you're not telling me what you're really working toward. Yeah. And if you really get good at AWS, is that going to define you?
Right.
And is that you saying, I am now a startup leader? Or am I a widget that somebody else can use because they know I'm certified in AWS? Yeah. You're reversing. You're giving away your power, in my opinion, because you have an opportunity to say, I have these certs, and now it's filling in the gaps from the other things. And now I know I have a comprehensive view of this thing that I'm starting. That's 100%. A totally different statement, but that's not how he introduced himself.
One of the hardest things, I think, for us all to do in life, and we've, unfortunately, I think, been conditioned.
You said it too.
To talk about, well, see? The centricity is just flowing right now in the room. But it's like we've been kind of groomed to say these things about, which absolutely do not resonate.
Do you mean to minimize?
Well, we say these things which we think resonate, but they actually don't, right? Okay. Like you said, the guy's giving you all these credentials, and I was like, none of that is connecting anyone to anything. We're not credential-based, we're relational-based. Right. So why don't we start by building the rapport of who in the world you are? Yeah. And so many of us are really disconnected from that. Well, that's really all anyone's buying, whether it be a friendship, relationship, or selling a product. Yeah. I'm not necessarily buying the product. Yeah. I'm buying you. Yeah. Right. I'm not necessarily interested in your cert. Yeah. Do we have anything in common here? Right. Is there anything passionate that's flowing here? And the operative word there is resonance. You know, it's like, that's another word, you know, if you ask me, that just, my chemist in me like lights up. My person in me lights up.
Resonance, huh?
Resonance, man. It's life. It's vibration. It's connection. It's interaction.
The musician in me resonates, and it comes out when you speak to that.
Absolutely.
My mom was great friends with Leontine Price, one of the early Black.
You're kidding me.
Oh yeah. They both went to Wilberforce. Classmate, same teacher. What? Yeah. That's the style of singing my mom taught me.
I know the Price family.
Okay. So now when we sing, she always talks about sing from your diaphragm and make sure there's a certain resonance and make sure the walls.
Where Chicago, just curiously.
Yeah. And I think Wilberforce is Wilberforce, Ohio.
Yeah, I'm not really thinking about the right people.
Is it called Central State now?
It might be.
Yeah. But okay. Yeah. So boom.
I'm connected.
Okay.
Resonance matters.
Resonance matters. Harmony matters. Yeah.
You know, we all saw the old thing in school, right? Where you hit the tuning fork, right? Yes. And there's another fork that has the same harmonic resonance, and they interact with each other. Where it's like there's no impact. Right. If you slap it and the other one over here is out of tune, it's just it harmonically is just not built to interact with it. You have to find that matched resonance zone, right? And that's one thing I think we don't teach enough. We don't tell people enough. We're ignoring where you're vibrating. Yes. And we're talking about certs.
Man, we're talking about nature. This conversation is like mind bending. I'm reading this book right now called "Sky Full of Elephants."
Nice. A sky full of elephants.
Nice.
Y'all, I'm telling y'all, after this conversation, y'all need to go read that book.
Sky Full of Elephants. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm telling you,
clouds.
I'm gonna jump.
What are we talking about? What's the premise?
Big ideas.
Yeah, we got enough.
I've got 2 more hours on my Audible.
I'm going to check out Audible. Okay. I have Audible. I have some books. I have some book spots that I can still grab.
Yeah, stay tuned.
I'm going to pull that in.
So maybe we should come back and have part 2 after y'all read that book because it ties into it. And I know you've got to wrap this up.
Full of elephants.
So in the broader theme of if we're talking to a 25-year-old, right? And what we have all been told is we need to go out there, we need to get our degree, we need to go get our education, we need to go get our certifications. And once we've done that, we're smart, we're good, we're set. Right? Yeah. And
that's a big one. Keep going.
Right?
Keep going.
I think you were alluding to it earlier. Like, what is that advice to that 25-year-old person about?
Well, is the world your oyster at that point? I mean, people will say crap like that too.
What does that mean? See, that's what I'm saying. That's another saying. What? The world is your oyster.
It's there it's all the meat is there for the taking. It's all encapsulated in a shell. You can go and scoop out this wonderful oyster because you have all the tools you need to go and get it. You know, but you don't. And that's the lie that oftentimes people are presented with. But like you said, these little sayings,
they fool you because you don't ask yourself the extended question.
What does that really mean? What does that mean? Yep. What does it really mean?
Often that's taken as a positive in life.
Yeah.
But all of us have eaten oysters. We know what oysters do.
Hey,
right?
Hey,
they freaking filter a bunch of trash and produce pearls. So it's like no one's really thinking about what a function is of the world. The world, if the world is your oyster.
Yes. They're about to put you into the grinder, and eventually maybe you'll create a
You're going to get a lot of irritant that's going to enter into your environment. That you've got to know how to properly encapsulate such that it doesn't destroy you.
So we're talking about the oyster being a production engine as opposed to the oyster being something to consume.
But still,
if it's not put in the proper context.
What are we thinking about?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Stuff like that just makes me just go. I think I've been geared to this. And back to your point, though, about you're coming out and you're capable. Man, I literally recently heard a guy speaking at a church event, older guy, and he was talking about the scripture where he says, patience worketh, experience, I think an experience worketh hope, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And he said, you all think you're really smart when you come out of school with that degree. He said, you come out with all, certs, bachelor's, master's, doctorate, whatever.
Yes.
He said, what's the first thing they tell you when you come out with all that? You need some experience. So it's kind of like, what? It's like, you mean to tell me I did all this?
Yeah.
I don't care what it is, lawyer, doctor, whatever. It's like, okay, now you need some experience.
Yeah. But that's the problem.
That's the funny part about this whole twisted scenario.
It is funny. And we've kind of known that for a minute now, right?
Yeah.
And now I think it's harder and harder for young folks. Like, how am I supposed the first question is, how am I supposed to get that experience, right?
But that's the funny part.
But having the experience isn't that also helps.
Okay.
But there's a lot of people that get by in this world without any prior experience.
That's right, because they knew somebody. Good old boy networks and all that.
There you go.
Yeah. There's a path.
That's not the differentiator.
There's a path.
The differentiator isn't the education.
Right.
The differentiator is not
It's relational, man.
How are you carrying yourself? How are you presenting yourself?
Yeah.
True.
How are you showing up?
How are you showing up? True.
Right.
True.
It's relational, but it's so weird that
and which rooms are you in?
Hey.
Which tables are you sitting at?
Yeah, which doors are you knocking at that don't even open for you?
There's so much of that people just ignore.
Yes.
Right?
That's true.
That's the X factor, if you will.
That's
I guess
true.
that's what we're going to call it. These things that people really have to find, and no one's really telling you.
Yeah.
That's the other thing why I ran into a person.
No one tells you that.
No one tells you anything.
You mean as you do it?
No. In life, no one tells you anything that's like what you really need. It's like all of this minutia of stuff that's like, that doesn't move the needle a bit.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, well, you need to tell me like what's at the essence. And actually, that's really what life is almost like.
Yeah.
You have to just almost find it.
Yeah.
And you have to have what someone told me. They said, look, man, all I care for when I'm looking for a hire, and this is actually, I think, goes to a lot of things, is do you have a natural curiosity? Like, do you even ask questions? Right? Do you seek things?
Yeah.
Or are you really just here as a doer?
Wow.
So a key indicator of somebody who's going to be successful and going to be eventually a leader is a person who refuses convention, asks the right questions, and gets to the root of the solution without someone having to coach them into that. If you can find a person with great natural curiosity that challenges you as a leader, that's somebody you might want to work with.
Yeah.
It's like, because you need a thinker. You need a person not just a doer. And oftentimes what we were raised to think is like, you need to be a hard worker and a doer.
Yes. Right.
Put out the widget. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
But there's also, though, like, yes, you need a challenge, but you got to challenge the right way.
But that's the point I'm making.
You can't just show up in any room and like, that idea is dumb.
No.
Like, you can't, right? Like,
true,
right?
True,
like,
true,
you have to know how to do that.
Yeah. But the inquiry is what I'm getting at. It's like just having a curiosity of improvement. Like, even if you're a grocery sacker, I don't care. You be seeing a commercial of the guy who can fold Domino's pizzas boxes. Like, he found a way to like make strict.
Saw that.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You just need to be the person that's like, man, I figured out a way to like blow this thing out of the water.
Okay, but you're saying
you're not just going to do it. No one taught him how to do that.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
He sat and did that.
He said, I see the work. I know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Hyper focused.
Let me add myself to what I'm doing here.
True.
Let me really apply myself to this.
Yeah.
That's where the beauty comes into those things. That's what I mean by natural curiosity.
But then I also say that there's an inquiry etiquette that needs to be in place.
Yeah.
Knowing how to ask those questions without stepping 100%. On the toes of people.
100%.
But likewise, engaging them by asking the question and letting them know, I really want to know more. I don't want to step on what you know. Yeah. I want to find out, how do I know more about what you know?
Really understand.
I don't get into the nitty gritty of this stuff. Yeah.
Really, but that comes, master the foundation.
Yeah.
And then say, is there something else we can be doing here?
Hey.
I'm going to tell you
that's such a great question.
That's what I'm saying. Is there something else we can be doing?
Yes.
I hit the wall as a leader.
Yeah.
With a person. I won't say his name.
Okay.
But this young man, extremely ambitious. And like I said, this was a challenging growth point for me because for the first time in my career, I ran into someone, a younger generation of a thinker who weren't raised to just be widget developers.
Okay.
And I gave him some work to do I'd made manager in my consulting world. So I get to manage analysts. And I'm like, hey, I need you, blah, blah, blah. And after 2 weeks of that, the guy he says, what is this for? And when I couldn't really give him a concrete answer of does the client care about this? Does this matter? I've been raised in the world. He said to do it, we do it. We just handed stuff down the line.
How did you respond?
That's what I'm saying. I had nothing for him in that moment except it's just what we have to do.
Wow.
I hadn't taken the moment to actually go, what in the world is this? And is it important?
I love that transparency though, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's you have to, at some point, we all have to break the mold.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's either going to be intentionally so or someone's going to break it for you. Either way, it's going to happen. So the ones that, I guess the point of this conversation, I'm saying, is the people that do best are the ones that are able to break it themselves rather than be broken. It's the ones who just kind of step out of it. I'm ready to transition out of this, got the foundation. Now to ask a deeper question, what else are we supposed to be thinking about here?
But that tells me the level of confidence that you have both in your skill sets and your role, that you are willing to be transparent, because there are people who will be in that role and they'll be offended that you asked that. Don't you know this is what we're supposed to be doing? And they'll bark. They'll write you up for that mess.
Right. They will write you up.
I have seen that in healthcare. I was working in healthcare, and there are times where I'm going and exploring and doing a little demo. Next thing I know, well, that's outside the realm of what you should have been doing. I'm like,
exactly.
At the end of the day, isn't this what we really want to know? Well, yes, but we didn't go through the proper channels to do it, and we didn't ask for permission. I said, the physician is focused on the patient. And I'm over here doing something that helps physician do his work more accurately and to see the results of what he's been doing over a longer period of time, a longitudinal study. Mm-hmm. So are you really telling me that I'm not doing the right thing?
That was a fork in the road moment. Let me be honest. Yeah. My initial reaction was when I'm like, I just got promoted to manager.
Brother.
How dare you? I could write you up. I do your performance review. And I determine your bonus.
Yes.
These are the things that are running through your head because that's what was done to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But it was literally, I'm sitting there in the fork of the road moment. And I said, he's asking me something. Actually, I don't know. Right. I haven't done.
Did you bring him to the next meeting that you do, or
did I what?
Did you bring him to another meeting, more senior meeting?
I took a major step back and had to ask myself questions because I said, if I'm going to make it, I got to figure out how to deal with this.
Okay.
Right. I wasn't ready.
Okay.
I saw I wasn't ready. He showed me how unready I was.
Okay.
Which actually posed an upward problem for me that I couldn't even articulate, right? Even if he did do the work, I can't articulate what this is about.
Okay.
So I said, I took a major step back in that. So I had to figure out my style of learning, intake, and actually delegation. It taught me that. But then the next thing it did is I had to change the way I mentor. I'm a natural mentor. I love connecting with people.
Yes.
But it made me shift in the dynamic of the paradigm that I was sitting in, this uber competitive consulting world where everything is up and out. Everything is try to climb to the next ladder. I said, wait a minute. Everybody here is in a life for consulting.
Wow.
Everybody isn't here to do this thing like this.
Some people are up and out.
No, and intentionally so. On 2 occasions, he was a catalyst to it.
Okay.
There was an extremely high entrepreneurial bar that they had.
Okay.
That's what was shining through.
Got it.
I said, look, man, you're going to get a great review from me.
Yeah.
There's no point in, really talking about the negatives of you because you don't fit this paradigm of consulting.
Right.
That's pointless for what we're doing here.
Yes.
I could write you up. I could say how underperforming you are in these areas of basically doing what I say do.
Yes.
Because that's, in essence, what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or I could say, look, I'm just going to focus on what really matters here.
Okay.
I'm not going to put a red mark on but between you and I, you're not going to be here next year.
Yeah.
I kid you not. Like, I said, you're going to get a great review between you and I. You're not going to be here next year because we need to talk about what you want to do.
There it is.
So for the business, I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to close the door to you being able to come back here.
But as a mentor, you opened up some doors for him.
I said, you're fine here. Now let's talk about what you really want to do.
There you go.
That person went on to launch a major brand that we all use to this day.
Wow.
Another guy went on to help to launch basically one food delivery. And that was on the beginning edge.
Okay.
He was a part of that kind of wave. But these guys had just high entrepreneurial bars.
That's fantastic.
And I was like, I'm sitting here. Now, if I could have taken the focus of like, I'm going to basically kill you and talk about you negatively and, get you demoted and no bonus. That wasn't the road.
That wasn't the time.
It was a fork in the road for me as a leader. How am I going to handle this moment of challenge this person's hitting me with? Am I going to beat them over the head with, you're going to succumb to this pressure just like I did?
That's admirable, man.
Or am I going to give you another avenue? And I was like, I'm going to do for you what no one did for me, which is I'm going to pause right there. And that's, I think, another thing, because oftentimes we will not do what someone else didn't do for us. We'll oftentimes try to make people go through the same unfortunate pain.
I went through it. You need to go through it too.
And that is a falsehood.
That's another one.
That's exactly my point. That's a falsehood.
Break the cycle, man.
Yeah. No one has to go to the point you made earlier. That's not the path of winning for everybody.
Right.
There's some people who just find the right table and they sat there.
Yeah.
So do we want to break it?
I was getting pinged.
We're at the 2:30 hour. So
yeah,
go ahead.
No, that's it. All right.
Well, cool.
No. Thank y'all.